Got a story. Jared's rubbing off on me. Man was walking through and he saw on a bulletin board an announcement up there for a place said the Church of God Grill. And that caught his attention. Church of God Grill, what is that? So he wrote down the number and he called them and he said, how did you happen to come by that name? And they said, well, we wanted to start this church and we began meeting at this building as a church, but didn't have many people come, so we thought it might help if we started a grill. And so we started this grill and brought a lot of people in. And we soon found out that our food was so popular that we just called it the Church of God Grill. And after a while, we realized that people really didn't care about the church part, so we just quit that, and we have the grill full time, and we just kept the name. Well, you think about that, and you think, okay, how could that happen? Well, the lesson, of course, is don't be a griller. You know, if you want to be a Christian, don't be a griller. But you think about, well, that really couldn't happen to anybody. But you look through the scriptures and you find people such as Adam and Eve, Cain, Achan, Judas, Demas, many others. All of us have probably seen people who followed the same thing. You know, they became, in essence, grillers because they started out well. They had good intentions. They had a desire to follow God, but other things kind of enticed them. Maybe they did it with a good purpose in mind, but it was the wrong way to go about it. And you think about each one of these, you know, Adam and Eve, they had everything there, but they were enticed to do something else. The same thing with each one of these. And you think about today that we see people do that too. That people like those that Paul spoke of in the Galatian letter, you did run well, who hath bewitched you that you should not obey the truth? And you think about how can I prevent that? And really the Apostle Paul is one that you look at him, and there are others. I think, again, we could look at people today and find the good example of people who just did not turn aside, who kept their focus. And that's what Paul was. The Apostle Paul, you know, whenever he described himself in 2 Timothy, the first chapter in verse 12, he spoke about the fact that he knew whom he believed. He wasn't ashamed, he didn't back away from the things he did because he knew whom he believed. And he said he is able to keep that which I've committed unto him against that day. If you go to the Philippian letter, you find the Apostle Paul says in Philippians 3, he says, I count myself not to have apprehended, but this one thing I do. Forgetting the things that are behind, I press on towards the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. So what it was in his life, sure, there were other things that sometimes might have felt like, you know, I could do this, but then he went back to God. He said, he's the one in control. He has the prize that I'm after. And that's what we have to do. The end result with Paul was whenever he spoke again in 2 Timothy about his death was impending. He said, I fought a good fight. I finished my course. I've kept the faith. Henceforth there's laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give unto me in that day. But then he says, not to me only. And it takes us back to what his plan was, to remain faithful, not to go over and just have a name, but rather to live what the name implied and really demanded. He says, not to me only, but to all them who look unto Jesus. I mean, we think about that, and, you know, what is our focus when we become a child of God? Look to him. He is the way, the truth, the life. No man goeth unto the Father but through him, John 14 and verse 6. So we keep our eyes upon him. And you know the song we're about to sing, you know, there's not a friend like him. There's nobody else can give what he gives. This world has things, but they're going to perish with the using. But he has something that he has prepared for us that will last for eternity. And if we keep our mind, our heart upon it, nobody will ever look at us and say, where'd you get that name? Because it seems so odd that you would have it doing what you're doing. Rather, they'll marvel at the hope we have, and we can be ready to give an answer unto them as they ask a reason of that hope. and bring them to what it truly means to be a follower of Christ. Perhaps that's where you need to start tonight. Perhaps you need to begin that walk with Jesus, that you're going to be baptized into Christ, put on Christ in baptism, and that blessing is going to be yours as you continue after Him. Perhaps you need to return to that. Perhaps you're following it. Hold on to it. Don't lose your focus. Keep the prize in sight and press on. This world has a lot of things that are tossed against us as we read throughout the Scriptures and we see throughout the lives around about us and maybe in our life. But heaven's going to be worth it all if we hold on. We can help you to do that. Let's do it as we stand and sing the song of invitation.